Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about spellcasting. We're going to be talking about the wizard again, and we're going to be talking about their penultimate spells, their level 8 magic. 8th level spells are what you get right as you're entering the last tier of play. When you are a 15th level wizard, you must choose your 8th level magic, and you get one spell slot that you can cast, so, you gotta make it worth it. This is one of those things that you don't get to cast lots of times per day, so the power level of the spells goes up, and 8th level is that spot just before you peek over the top and get the best spells in the game. That doesn't mean they're not powerful, though. 8th level spells hold a wonderful place, and I have chosen a top 5 list that all wizards should consider as they move into this new level of spellcasting. Starting with number 5, we have Demi Plane. Demi Plane is a very simple spell. You create a door on a flat surface, lasts for an hour, no concentration needed, and when you open the door, you find a room. 30 by 30 foot room. Looks like it's made of regular old wood and stone materials. And it's a room that's, you can store things in, you can hide inside, you can trap people in there, whatever. And then when you leave, the door disappears after the spell ends, and the room goes back to the astral plane where it came from. Literally, it is a pocket dimension. You can use it for storage, you can use it for imprisonment, you can use it for hiding, you can use it for anything. And because you know what your Demi Plane looks like, you can now resummon the Demi Plane back to you with another casting of the spell. Or if you need another room, you can summon another empty one. There is no limit to how many Demi Planes you can create. As long as you can remember what's inside them, you can call them back and have an infinite amount of storage. But what's cool about Demi Plane is that it also becomes an adventure hook, because, kind of like the Room of Requirement, when you think about what a demi-plane contains, you can go to any demi-plane. If another person describes the contents of their demi-plane, you can go to it. It's one of those things that there is no, lock that states only a creature who first enters a demi-plane can now go. No, you can go to any demi-plane that exists as long as you know what's in there. Which means that a clever DM can set up an intricate treasure hunt jumping into the astral plane and finding your way through who knows how many pre-designated locations. It is the ultimate adventure as far as hooks go, and it's a wonderful spell for both utility and for storytelling. So, Demi-Plane's fun. So, not all wizards are going to live long enough to see the astral plane. But there is a spell, and this spell is unique to wizards, that allows you to live forever. And yes, this is actual immortality. It is the clone spell, 4th on my list. The clone spell has a reputation for being one of the greatest spells in the game for a good reason. Because when you cast clone, you consume 1,000 gold piece gem and a cubic inch of the flesh of the creature you're cloning, which is usually yourself. You also need a special vessel worth 2,000 gold pieces, a vat of salt water, or a special coffin, or whatever. And then you spend an hour casting the spell, and the components all go in, and then you have yourself a box, or a barrel, or some sort of urn that contains a growing body. And then you put it somewhere safe, maybe a demi-plane. Once you have got this clone somewhere, it gestates for 120 days, at which point it reaches full maturity. The clone is an exact copy of the creature that was used to grow it, including you, if it's you. But it's not just another body. If you wanted that, you could cast Simulacrum. No. A clone is inanimate. It doesn't live. But what happens is, if you die, if you are killed, and your soul leaves your body, that soul can immediately go to seek out the clone. Wherever it is. It can be on another plane of existence, it can be wherever. But your spirit will seek out the clone body, enter it, and at that point the spell is complete, and you now live again. So you have all the same stats and spells. You don't have any of your equipment, but the body is still the same as you were when you died, except it is a younger version of yourself, the you that happened when you cast the spell originally. So if you cast this spell when you're a middle-aged person and then you die, you can go back to another body and then you can just cast the spell again and then go back to the body after the next time you die and cast the spell again. And in doing this, you can live basically or effectively an infinite number of lives as long as you have an infinite number of clones. It is the ultimate contingency plan. The reason it's not number one on my list, because I considered making it number one, I did. But the reason it's not number one is because you're a level 15 wizard. You've got some of the most powerful magic in all the Forgotten Realms and beyond. What are the chances you're gonna die? Like, clone's great as a backup plan, but you cast it one time, and then you're done. You don't cast it again unless you really need multiple clones, which, why would you need multiple clones? Clone is not a spell that you're casting a lot. Clone is a spell that you cast one time and you may never cast again, and you may never use the clone. I love the spell, and I think wizards absolutely should learn it, but it just doesn't ring true for me as the most powerful 8th level spell. It just doesn't. It deserves a spot on the list, though, which is why it's number 4. And when you mix Clone and Demi Plane together, you've got yourself a match made in heaven. But let's talk combat. Let's talk about what we're really here for. Powerful magic in combat. Number 3 on the list is Maze. A lot of people skip over this spell because it appears to just be a kind of banishment's bigger brother. You target a creature, you concentrate on the spell for 10 minutes, and they disappear to a Demi Plane, and then they have to make a check to get back. Here's the trick about Maze, and this is what makes it so interesting. Maze completely ignores legendary resistance in both senses. Because when you cast the spell Maze, there is no saving throw, there's nothing that happens. The creature just vanishes. It doesn't matter who they are. It could be the Tarask, it could be an ancient dragon, it could be a lich, it could be any creature you want. Maze makes them go away. Now, once they are in the maze, this labyrinthian demi-plane that they're in, then they can use their action to make a check. Notice I didn't say saving throw. See, legendary resistance, when you fail a save, allows you to choose to succeed instead. That's not how this spell works. You have to make a DC 20 intelligence check. So intelligence being another key factor here. That's one of the weakest stats unless you're fighting an intelligence-based spellcaster or maybe a mind flayer. Intelligence is usually a weak stat. So they have to succeed that check, or they stay in the maze until the spell ends. So 10 minutes, you can take the biggest target off the battlefield, and it is very unlikely, unless they have high intelligence, that they're coming back at all. Legendary resistance be damned. That gives you 10 whole minutes to clean up the battlefield, set up whatever you need to set up, and then if you want them to come back early, you can just drop concentration. And if nothing else, even if you're against a creature with high intelligence, this is a successful 1-round bonus. You cast this spell, and no matter what, they're gone. Even if they succeed the check the next turn, you have stolen a turn from the boss. And a turn is valuable. That is the ultimate battlefield control, and Maze is truly a battlefield control spell that is peerless in its style. No other spell can take a single enemy out of the fight like Maze can. But of course, you're not always fighting a single enemy. Maybe you need to fight enemies that are, more powerful, or that are more numerous than that. Enter my number 2 pick, Illusory Dragon. This is a spell that Xanathar's Guide to Everything brought us. And it is a spell that summons up a spectral shadow dragon. The dragon is made of stuff from the Shadowfell, so even though it is tangible, it is still a shadow creature. It's an interesting spell. You control the dragon. It has a 60-foot speed, and you can send it with a bonus action. As part of its movement, it can make a breath attack. The breath attack can do one of the traditional dragon damage breaths: acid, fire, cold, lightning, or poison, or necrotic, ironically enough, which you choose when you create the dragon. It does 76 on a failed save, an intelligence save, mind you, not a dex save. So, pretty good damage for a bonus action cast. The other thing is that creatures that see the dragon have to make a wisdom save or they become frightened of the dragon, so they can't approach it. So now you've got battlefield control with the fear effect. You've got a breath weapon that does fair damage against a great save. And all of this, the dragon can't be harmed. Even though it's tangible and takes up its space, it is immune to damage, succeeds on all saving throws, is immune to all conditions. Creatures cannot tell it's an illusion at first. In fact, the spell specifically states that they must succeed in an investigation check against your spell save DC to determine it's an illusion at all. When they do this, they then can see through the dragon and have advantage on saving throws against its breath weapon. Notice they're still taking the damage. The illusory dragon still does damage, even if they know it's not real. They simply would know not to attack it. However, this relies on a check. Again, this isn't a saving throw. Unless the DM is heavy metagaming, which could happen, sure. But as a DM myself, I would determine that you'd have to roll real lucky on a sort of perception check, or the enemies would have to have really high passive perception just to think to investigate the dragon. It's not unreasonable to think a 15th level wizard could summon a dragon. So to even make the check at all is a bit of a long shot. To then succeed on the check is also a long shot, and then all they get is reduced damage and knowing the dragon isn't real. It is a phenomenally powerful spell, which really suits the wizard idea, the fact that they just drop a dragon in the middle of the field and then they do whatever they need to do while the dragon takes care of everything for them and can't be harmed. Who needs a summoning spell when you've got this? This is better in almost every capacity. And I say almost, because it's not the number one spell on the list. As you may have guessed, the number one spell on the list is the number one 8th level spell, in my opinion. One of the greatest spells in all of the game, Dominate Monster. Why is Dominate Monster better than Illusory Dragon? I'll tell you why. Because Dominate Monster can mind control a real dragon. Yes, Dominate Monster is just like Dominate Person. You designate a creature, it makes a wisdom save, and if it fails, you mind control it for the next hour with your concentration. And it can be any creature. Yes, it can be that dragon. I recommend working through its legendary resistances with maybe some smaller spells, but once you've burned through them, this is a great way to really set the exclamation point at the end of that battle. Rather than kill the dragon, mind control it. Then have it fly you somewhere. Or fight a different dragon, or fight more enemies. A dragon who's mind controlled is powerful, because it will do whatever you tell it to do, even if it's dangerous, even if it hurts it. You can just give it general orders, or you can give it a specific command using your action and just puppet it. Imagine mind controlling a dragon with a puppeting mindset. And I keep talking about dragons because of how it's better than Illusory Dragon, but you can do this to any creature. You can do it to giants, you can do it to trolls, you can do it to humanoids if necessary. But Dominate Monster affects any creature. It doesn't matter what type they are. So you take an enemy out of the fight, you've added an ally to your roster, and one failed save, and they are yours for an hour. And if you upcast it to a 9th level spell, they're yours for 8 hours. With the best kind of mind control in the game. That is why Dominate Monster takes the number one spot. There is no spell scarier than this, because of the pure implications of taking any living thing you see, or unliving thing you see, and just making it your servant. For a little bit, at least. And at the end of it all, just before the spell ends, if you want to just tell them to stand still while you impale them, that also works. I mean, If you can kill your little thrall before they die, or your big thrall before they die, then they're not going to be a trouble to you afterwards. Dominate monster absolutely takes the cake. So yeah, wizard spells are powerful. We'll be approaching our 9th level spells here shortly. But for now, you're level 15, you have Dominate Monster, you have Clone, you have Maze, Demi Plane, Illusory Dragon, all the greats. Enjoy your powerful magic, because the ultimate spells are about to come. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews, the last of them, coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.